Ever since the year 2000, Midwest Fur Fest has been taking place nearly every year, usually the week after Thanksgiving in Rosemont, Illinois. It's one of the biggest furry conventions in the world, sometimes amassing over 15,000 attendees. It was shortly after midnight at the Hyatt that many convention goers on the 9th floor of the hotel began to notice a particularly noxious odor.
That's the attacker. They're smelling the chlorine.
The Furry Raiders are a group that can only be described as Nazi furries. They base a lot of their logos and costume details on various Nazi logos and paraphernalia, even wearing the infamous swastika armbands with the swastika switched out with a paw print logo.
Oh my, it's so corny, bro. It's just so corny.
Was this association with Foxler that would prove to be very detrimental to—
And then his name is Foxler. He wanted to make it sound like Hitler, but he's Foxler.
This suspect was a notorious furry by the name of Robert Sojkowski.
Oh lord. Bro, of course they're a Trumpy. Oh my god. Hello, YouTube. In today's video, we are back actually with some blasphemy, like actual just cringe shit today. Disgusting person. So the case we are going to be covering today is titled The Furry Chlorine Gas Attack. I am the first person in my family bloodline to read a sentence like this, to utter words like this together in the same sentence. And as you can see already from the thumbnail, the cringe starts immediately. We have a furry with a Confederate flag themed fursuit. I'm just preparing y'all for what we're going to watch today. Hopefully he doesn't harm too many people. Actually, I don't know if it's a he or she. Frankly, whatever, who cares? They're a monster to me. So yeah, hopefully they don't hurt too many people. Hopefully this wasn't born out of like some kind of like racist or something ideology. Wait, what am I saying? Wait, am I stupid? Wait, yeah, he has a Confederate flag themed fursuit. What am I saying? Like, I hope this wasn't racist. Like, bruh, oh my god, I'm so dumb. No, you know what? Let's just watch this video, dude. I'm ready to just rip into this idiot. Alrighty, without further ado, I'm gonna shut up now.
When it comes to furries, there have been a good number of incidents, controversies, and crimes over the years. None of these have really helped them out in the PR department, with some being much worse than others. It doesn't get much worse than a full-on chemical attack on a furry convention.
Oh, so it was friendly fire. So it was friendly fire. It wasn't even just like a random attack on I don't know, like a random school or a mall or some other heavily populated area. It was like at a furry convention to other furries.
Of the few hundred videos on this channel, somehow we've only actually covered furries only once. However, there are other incidents that are definitely worth talking about. One prime example of those being today's case, a full-on terror attack on a furry convention.
Jesus.
If you somehow in this day and age don't know what a furry is, they're people who like drawing or dressing up as anthropomorphic animal characters.
Hey, by the way, do I have any furries in chat? My point is, by asking this question is just because furries are actually really cool people. I know like Dire Trip says, in the PR department, in like the social department, people often clown on furries and stuff like that. I personally don't even like doing it just because they're furries, you know? Like, obviously, if you're a terrible person, you deserve to be clowned on. But like, if you're just a furry, whatever, it's a harmless hobby. And a lot of them, frankly, are super chill. I've actually met like 1 or 2 furries in my life. They were honestly some of the coolest, most down-to-earth people ever that I've ever spoken to, so yeah.
They're people who like drawing or dressing up as anthropomorphic animal characters. Think humanoid-looking Disney animals. While the majority of furries simply view the whole thing as a hobby and don't do anything really scummy with it, it's hard to look past all of the notable crimes and controversies involving furries in the past. Given how most people view furries, well, unfavorably, these cases usually only serve to give people even more ammunition to rip on them. This is one of such stories. There are a lot of furry-related conventions and events across the United States. Some of them are fairly small, on a local scale, while many others operate on a national scale and attract furries from all over the country and even all over the world. One convention called Midwest Fur Fest was one of such events. It started out as being a part of DuckCon, which was an annual Chicago-based science fiction convention. It got to the point where the furry portion of the convention was taking up.
This one looks fucking scary. Okay, this one looks way too fucking scary. I don't like this one. He looks like he's mewing, like ultimate mewing style.
It got to the point where the furry portion of the convention was taking up over 1/4 of all of the attendees, so eventually the decision was made to spin off onto its own convention. Ever since the year 2000, Midwest Fur Fest has been taking place nearly every year, usually the week after Thanksgiving in Rosemont, Illinois. It's one of the biggest furry conventions in the world, sometimes amassing over 15,000 attendees.
Jesus.
While it seems pretty funny to most, they do actually make quite a bit of money for charity each year, donating to a wide array of both human and animal-related causes, donating about $1 million over time. Today's story took place during Midwest Fur Fest 2014. Back then, it was the second biggest furry convention in the United States, with about 5,400 people attending. The event was being held at the Hyatt Hotel in Rosemont, Illinois from December 5th to December 7th. The theme was Holidays in the City, with plenty of furries turning out to take place in the convention, hop in on the poker tournament, participate in auctions, and check out the panels. After hours, the furries like to partake in oodles of alcohol and get hammered until their fursuits were full of chunks.
How do they piss? Surely when you drink this much, I mean, you have to pee at some point, right? Do they have zippers? Or do they have to take the whole thing off just to pee? Do they have like a pee sack inside of it? Or do they have diapers? They just shit themselves. They just shit themselves in the suit. Like, zippers gang? Oh, okay. My bad, I'm being educated, okay? I'm being educated.
Said partying was taking place on Saturday night, going all the way up into the early hours of Sunday. It was shortly after midnight at the Hyatt that many convention goers on the 9th floor of the hotel began to notice a particularly noxious odor, one that smelled chemical in nature. Several people were forced to move out of their hotel rooms and onto the balconies to get some air.
That's the attacker. Yeah, they're smelling the chlorine or the acid.
Many others were reportedly having itchy, red eyes and trouble breathing. Eventually, a few convention goers in room 963 of the hotel decided to call the authorities. After all, maybe this had been done intentionally, they thought. At around 12:45 a.m., firefighters were informed by the 911 dispatchers of a possible chemical leak, or maybe even a chemical attack within the hotel, being told that many of the attendees had reported a strong smell of chlorine throughout the building, mainly coming from the staircase. One member of the Midwest Fur Fest staff, one by the name of Phaedra Lewis, felt that the whole thing was only a bit of the usual drunken debauchery, stating, "It was at night during the convention. Many of them had had a few drinks, so our medical team just assumed, oh well, somebody spilled something on the stairs, maybe a maid did it or something. It was only fairly late in the evening that it really became clear somebody had done something deliberately." Phaedra planned on ignoring the whole thing, feeling that it was probably something mundane. Maybe some sort of weird chemical reaction had been triggered by the lighting of a cigarette. She was already in her pajamas and didn't really want to get out and deal with any problem, until she had to, that was. On her way to visit a friend in their hotel room, she was told by another hotel guest that they needed to evacuate immediately. She didn't even have enough time to grab a jacket or anything warmer than her pajamas before heading to the stairwell. It was here that she was hit with the most pungent of odors, something that felt toxic. She said, "It smelled, for all the world, like the worst pool shock you've ever been around. Like it was eye-stingingly bad, even outside the hotel." While the hotel guests were leaving the building, many others were still entering. This included local law enforcement, hazardous material technicians with full-on hazmat suits, the FBI, the Chicago Counterterrorism Unit, and even the Mass Destruction Unit. On top of all of that, reporters with flashing cameras and small news crews were trying to force themselves into the building and try to see what was going on. At first, people were allowed to stay on the dance floor and within the lower area of the convention, but eventually even those attendees were evacuated at around 1:10 a.m. Everyone in the hotel was forced to either stand outside in the bone-chilling December Chicago weather or to shelter in nearby buildings, like...
Ooh, I forgot this is, Chicago. Yeah, Chicago gets really brutal in the winter months. Does it get worse than New York? I don't know if anybody here lives in Chicago or, like, in that general area. I heard Chicago actually gets worse than New York City in the winter.
In December Chicago weather or to shelter in nearby buildings, like the Stevens Convention Center. Many, however, willingly remained around the hotel, hoping to see what all the fuss had been about. Over those 2 hours, hazmat technicians were working on decontaminating the area while the FBI and the local authorities continued their investigation. Meanwhile, things were getting a bit chaotic outside the hotel as many of the still very drunk furries were fairly unable to grasp or comprehend the situation at hand. A man named Thomas Zell, who was 27 at the time, was one of the attendees standing outside of the hotel. He and many others had been on the dance floor that night when they were forced to evacuate. While many of the furries had engaged in a bit of chaos at past conventions, such as pulling the fire alarms at night, this time felt different. He described the general thought process of the group as, a lot of people thought this was just someone pulling the fire alarm, but it was serious this time. Two other furries who came all the way from Iowa, Morgan Smedgskull and Chris Delaney, said that they didn't even hear the alarms or the calls to evacuate in their part of the building.
Hey, low-key, this guy's walking with some aura. Who the fuck is this guy? Wait, look how he's walking out the doors. Wait.
Two other furries who came all the way from Iowa.
He goes... And then he's like, the way he walks.
And Smedgskull and Chris Delaney said that they didn't even hear the alarms or the calls to evacuate in their part of the building. They only knew what was happening after getting some text messages from their friends urging them to leave the building as quickly as possible. Morgan, standing outside of the hotel in a red panda suit, said that they smelled a strong scent of chlorine while exiting the building, adding, it was shocking. Chris added, it was like when you walk into a pool. It was pungent. Many others within the crowd weren't quite as coherent. It was said that many of them had been forced out of the hotel in various states of undress. Some of them were out in the cold in nothing but light pajamas or even in their underwear. Many of the others had been getting a bit festive at the time, being forced out into the streets in full-on fetish and bondage gear. Another attendee named Peter Van Heel, a science fiction writer and role-playing game designer from Ontario, said, one guy seemed to be trying to start a revolution. He was standing there, and in a very loud, dramatic voice, he kept starting to deliver an inspiring speech, but would get like 3 or 4 words in and forget what he was saying and start again, and a bunch of people told him to sit down. Meanwhile, inside the hotel, the firefighters finally came upon what seemed to be the origin of the problem. A broken glass bottle in the middle of the 9th floor stairwell of the hotel. Throughout most of the hotel, the open air alone was giving a reading of 4 on the chlorine meter. The substance radiating from the shattered glass was so intense that it maxed out their detection tools entirely. The firefighters reported back, saying, whatever the substance is, it is overloading our chlorine meter. Inside the glass jar was a white powdered substance. Once the hazmat team arrived to take their samples, they made 8 different swabs. Some of them were from the liquid around the jar, while others were of the powder itself. Some were taken from the jar, while others were taken from the walls and stairs surrounding the area. They were packed into absorbent pads and placed into a steel drum, but there was one thing that the crew didn't know at the time. Some of their instruments were faulty and malfunctioning. This made most of the samples useless, with them later proving to be inconclusive in testing. The discovery of the chemical agent caused the firefighters to raise an EMS alarm at 1:03 a.m. and a hazmat alarm shortly after at 1:07 a.m. The EMS alert was elevated in intensity pretty shortly after, causing the firefighters to call 15 more ambulances out to the scene.
Holy shit. Holy 15 more ambulances? Dude, this was like a whole ass biochemical weapon.
Very quickly, about 19 people were transported to nearby hospitals in the area. Most of them were complaining of nausea, dizziness, and eye-related complications. Many of them were taken directly from the scene or were urged to go to the hospital themselves after speaking to paramedics later on. Over the next couple of hours, 5 nearby hospitals became full of sick furries.
I'm sorry, but it's just like the hospital became full of sick furries. Like imagine you, somebody who's not a furry, having an emergency late at night. Let's say you were drunk driving and you got injured, or like you got drunk and you got injured, and then you go to this exact hospital just by chance, and then you get checked in, and then you're just seeing a bunch of animals walking around. They're also sick. They're also like you're just seeing a bunch of animals walking around you, and you're just like, what the fuck? Like, where am I? Am I at the vet?
Eventually, the building was cleaned out and was able to reopen at 4:21 a.m. However, even by that point, it still wasn't really known as to what had happened. With the discovery of the unmarked glass jar, though, it definitely seemed to be a deliberate act, not somebody simply dropping some pool cleaning supplies or something along those lines. The organizers of FurFest made a statement that morning saying that FurFest would continue. They had been tweeting regularly during the whole panic, but the tweets offered very little info as to what was actually happening. They admitted that even they knew very little about the details of the evacuation. Due to that, many rumors began to circulate on social media, everything from a chemical leak to stories of an anti-furry mass murder attempt. FurFest organizers wrote, As we wake up today, we want to continue to provide the best possible convention that we can, despite the trying circumstances. We ask you to continue to be patient, and remember that the volunteers who make Midwest Fur Fest happen intend to give 110% to make sure that the fun, friendship, and good times of Midwest Fur Fest 2014 overshadow last night's unfortunate incident. More than anything though, the Fur Fest organizers seemed to be concerned about a rumor that they would be offering refunds. They made a point to list both on Twitter and on their website that no money would be refunded.
Damn, dude, convention owners are so greedy. I don't know about y'all, but like, okay, so the biggest one that we have here in Texas is called Anime Matsuri, and they're just as infamous, they're just as notorious for being greedy fucks that mismanage stuff, and it doesn't matter how bad things get, they are not refunding you. So like, yeah, the guys in this video, the owners in this video of this furry convention, they said, fuck y'all. Oh, there was a biochemical terrorist attack. Sucks for y'all. Anyway, thanks for your money, bitches.
It goes without saying that a full-on chemical attack on a furry convention made news headlines pretty quickly. After all, not only were attacks like this pretty uncommon in the first place, but happening at a furry convention made the whole thing only that much more buzzworthy. The attack quickly made the national news, leading to one particularly noteworthy broadcast. On December 8th, the day after the attack took place, a morning show on MSNBC called Morning Joe was detailing the events that played out. However, they couldn't even get into the details of the story as the hosts, Mika Brzezinski and Joe Scarborough, started cracking up while trying to tell the tale.
Oh my gosh, bro. No. No. Look at this lady trying to hide her face, bro. Like, it is very unfortunate. Because, like, if this wasn't a furry convention, if the people weren't dressed up as animals, it would just be covered as basically a terrorist attack. But because of the stigma of furries, like, it's really tough for especially older people to take seriously. Because it's serious, you know? It's serious. A lot of people were hurt. A lot of people, somebody could have died. Chemicals like that, when you're smelling that much chemicals, it can cause permanent brain damage. So yeah, but I mean, at the same time, I do want to at least express a little bit of empathy for these reporters, because like this is all like so new to them. I don't fucking know, bro.
However, they couldn't even get into the details of the story as the hosts, Mika Brzezinski and Joe Scarborough, started cracking up while trying to tell the tale. The broadcast cut away to an interview with one of the attendees to try to give the news crew some time to recover, but even after the cameras came back to the two hosts, Mika Brzezinski was running off set due to uncontrollable laughter.
Okay, officials were called when a strong odor of chlorines, what? Spread?
I think they had to evacuate the building and everything. Sent the hotel guests along with convention attendees into the...
Dude, this guy's like looking behind him. There's nothing there. There is nothing behind you, bro. What are you looking at? And then this woman right here. Oh my.
Cold night. Many still dressed in their furry costumes.
We have a lot of costumes.
That's actually fucked up though. That's fucked up. Okay, like we're streaming here, so it's just like it's a little bit different, but like when you're a professional news anchor, I mean, come on, like people got hurt, man. Like, come on.
We have a lot of costumers out here with big fluffy costumes that'll keep people warm, so at this point, we're not at all worried.
Costumes kept everybody warm was the good news. The hotel was
Where you going?
contaminated.
Hey!
Guests came back inside at 4 a.m. Police still
Come back.
The matter.
Dude, it got so bad. This lady ran away. This lady is running away from the set because she can't control her laughter.
Hey,
guests came back
come
inside
back
at 4 a.m.
Could you check on Mika, see if she's okay? She's over there somewhere.
It goes without saying that many of the furries across the country were very offended by the coverage. The Rosemont Police Department officially began their investigation shortly after the attack, first logging the case that very morning. The case was assigned to a detective a few weeks later, just after Christmas. While the police and the FBI continued to interview suspects, even coming up with a prime suspect, they were never able to come up with enough evidence to conclusively arrest anyone in the case. After several frustrating months, the police department closed the case on July 29, 2015, roughly half a year after the attack. A member of the FBI's Chicago division said that, while the police department had closed the case, it didn't really mean that they were done entirely.
Oh, did she get fired that same day? Did she actually?
He said that the case would reopen once again if the department were ever to come across another lead. Saying that they still considered the whole thing to be an ongoing criminal investigation, he added that it wasn't uncommon for information to come out randomly after the fact in cases like these. However, even saying that, another year would pass without an arrest ever being made. Despite being a high-profile chemical attack, the police had very little to go on. After all, the hotel was severely lacking in security cameras at the time, especially in and around the stairwells, and the samples they had taken had all been proven inconclusive. It was going to be difficult to ever come to any real conclusion in the case. However, the FBI did have that one prime suspect that I previously mentioned. He had been questioned heavily in the days following the attack, leading to the FBI raiding his home and even finding what they said might be some possible physical evidence. This suspect was a notorious furry by the name of Robert Sochkowski, better known in the furry community by his fake name Magnus Deridium. Some people out there may better know him by the moniker later attributed to him.
Oh, Lord. Bro, of course they're a Trumpy. Oh my god.
Some people out there may better know him by the moniker later attributed to him, the Confederate fursuiter. Robert, born in 1972, was 42 at the time of the crime and had already made a bit of a name for himself due to his numerous antics. He had always been into furry culture for almost as long as it had existed, being a fursuit maker himself. Living in Pennsylvania, he even started a company called Cheerful Creations that made these suits for other furries. Robert had an extensive criminal record going all the way back to 1990 when he was 18 years old. The lengthy rap sheet included such charges as disorderly conduct, prowling at night, possessing instruments of crime with intent, many counts of theft and receiving stolen property, battery, harassment, terroristic threats, something they called ethnic intimidation.
Wait, why were we saying the number 42? Is he 42 years old? Oh god, I'm like 80% sure I've seen him. You've seen him? He's 42?
Robert, born in 1972, was 42 at the time of the crime.
Bro is 42, doing this still, dressing up in a Confederate fursuit. And I mean, I don't know, I mean, I'm not knocking ages for doing this type of shit either, but I mean, I feel like 42 and still doing like this furry stuff is also kind of like weird.
Robert had an extensive criminal record going all the way back to 1990 when he was 18 years old. The lengthy rap sheet included such charges as disorderly conduct, prowling at night, possessing instruments of crime with intent, many counts of theft and receiving stolen property.
He probably has a piss bag. Dude, he probably has a diaper. He probably has a diaper now at this point. This is one of the most appropriate times to use the phrase grown-ass man. Grown-ass man. Watch him be a pedo. I mean, that would just be the cherry on top. It would only make sense.
Did such charges as disorderly conduct, prowling at night, possessing instruments of crime with intent, many counts of theft and receiving stolen property, battery, harassment, terroristic threats, something they called ethnic intimidation, and perhaps most ironically, cruelty to animals. He had several more prominent court cases under his belt. One of them was in July of 1999 when he was charged with retail theft. He came to a plea deal on that case. Many other cases wouldn't go as smoothly. In October of 2002, he was hit with a charge of loitering and prowling at nighttime, disorderly conduct, hazardous physical offense, and attempted theft by unlawful taking of movable property. Two of the charges were eventually dismissed, but the loitering and prowling at nighttime and disorderly conduct, hazardous physical offenses were held up in court. Eventually, Robert came to plead guilty and was sentenced to a year of probation. He found himself back in court once again in May of 2004, this time charged with something very reminiscent of the Furfest attack: terroristic threats to cause evacuation of a building, terroristic threats to cause serious public inconvenience, recklessly endangering another person, harassment, specifically communications lewd or threatening language, and disorderly conduct, hazardous physical offense. In this case, he had conducted a similar attack on a bank as revenge for an overdraft fee. He accepted a plea deal in the case, the outcome of which, unfortunately, is not known. Robert, despite being somewhat well known within the scene, had also been banned from various furry conventions over time for his conduct. He was known to associate with some less than savory furry friends, one of them being a Fox character by the name of Foxler. Foxler was the founder of a group called the Furry Raiders. The Furry Raiders are a group that can only be described as Nazi furries.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I saw the armband, so I instantly knew Nazis. Instantly, I knew Nazis, but I didn't want to speak too soon, though, but I ended up being right. But then also, this motherfucker looks terrifying. This shit looks uncanny as hell. He did not furry correctly. As far as I know, I thought being a furry, fursuits, they're supposed to kind of look cartoony, right? Or like, is there no right way? Yeah, anyway, the fursuits that I'm more familiar with, they kind of look cartoony, but also high quality. This shit just looks like failed child taxidermy. It's so uncanny. It's too realistic. I don't fuck with that.
The Furry Raiders are a group that can only be described as Nazi furries. They base a lot of their logos and costume details on various Nazi logos and paraphernalia, even wearing the infamous swastika armbands with the swastika switched out with a paw print logo.
Oh my, it's so corny, bro. It's just so corny. So instead of the Nazi logo, yeah, they were putting paws on it. Oh my god, bro.
It was this association with Foxler that would prove to be very detrimental to Robert.
Oh my, oh dude, yeah. And then his name is Foxler. I assume because he wanted to make it sound like Hitler, but he's Foxler.
Association with Foxler that would prove to be very detrimental to Robert. When it came to be known to some of the Furry Raider group admins that Foxler had insider information of the gas attack, they made the decision to report it to the FBI. Foxler was interviewed by the FBI in Colorado. After he squealed, this led them to interview Robert in the end. Robert's home went on to be raided by the FBI, where they found the same sort of red duct tape that had been used on the chlorine jar. He said that it belonged to his roommate and that it was all pure coincidence. In the end, he was questioned 4 times by the FBI and the police. At the time, Robert had actually been working as a lifeguard, giving him easy access to large amounts of untraceable chlorine. It was also noted that he drove all the way to FURRFest, meaning he easily could have carried it in his car as opposed to smuggling it on a plane or buying it in the local area. When the police brought up his similar attack on a bank in the past, he downplayed the incident, saying that nobody died, so it wasn't that big of a deal.
I'm dead. I'm dead. This literally looks like a furry police officer arresting him. Like, it literally, does it not look like that? It looks like they got a furry police force to handle this situation as well. It looks like they got a special furry police force.
When the police brought up his similar attack on a bank in the past, he downplayed the incident, saying that nobody died, so it wasn't that big of a deal. Police even found motive for his attack on the hotel. After interviewing Robert's hotel mates from the time of the con, they were able to find that Robert had been very angry with FURRFest organizers. It seems that they had threatened to take his badge away after he was caught running down the street shit-faced in his fursuit. It was noteworthy that, even after the attack took place, Robert had continued to be banned from different furry conventions left and right. At a convention called Anthrocon in 2014, the same year as the attack, he had been banned for making a bootleg version of a fursuit used by a well-loved EMT who had died on duty. People were disgusted that such a reviled character like Robert would wear this outfit and disgrace his legacy. Many considered it to be pure exploitation of a well-loved convention-goer who had passed away. In 2015, after the Dylan Roof case, in which a white supremacist carried out a mass shooting, many Confederate flags were taken down across the country.
I'm thinking about covering this video, by the way, that this killer. Actually, wait, did I already make a video on him? Dylan Roof? He looks familiar.
In 2015, after the Dylan Roof case, in which a white supremacist carried out a mass shooting, many Confederate flags were taken down across the country. Robert took particular offense to this, leading to him creating and donning a full-on Confederate flag fursuit and carrying out what he called protests, by waving Trump signs on the side of the road mostly. He decided to re-attend FURRFest in 2015, this time lending the controversial suit out to another furry. This led to him being detained by security and banned from the convention until 2017. The furry who wore the suit during the fur parade that year was also banned. Unwilling to let it go, Robert wore the suit again to Anthrocon in 2017, this time trying to hide the Confederate flag design under a white sheet. Intentional or not, this only caused him to get a whole lot of KKK jokes as well as a result. At first, he was asked not to wear the suit again. However, while talking to him, the con organizers found that he hadn't even paid to attend that year, leading to him being banned from Anthrocon entirely until he made his payment. That same year brought Midwest FURRFest 2017. Given that Robert was banned from the convention, it was believed that the attendees would be spared his antics. That year, the con was in good spirits. It had been a few years since the chlorine gas attack by this point. People were able to attend with no fear, and the charities were exploding in funds, with almost $90,000 being raised for an animal charity that was on the verge of bankruptcy.
See, that's nice. See, that's nice. Furries coming together. I mean, you're dressing as animals, and then also you care about animals, and you're raising money for animal charity. That's nice. Those are the types of furries that I like.
With almost $90,000 being raised for an animal charity that was on the verge of bankruptcy. However, things would once again grow grim as Robert made his way onto the scene. Robert decided to crash the con, despite being both banned and not paying. He showed up to the event in a black, red, and white fursuit with a German World War I style getup, helmet, and iconography. He showed up to the lobby giving an enthusiastic Sieg Heil and began shouting what have only been called racist things. The staff immediately realized who he was, even behind the suit, and demanded that he leave. He refused and punched one of the staff members, so the police were called. Once hotel security began to run towards him, Robert decided it was time to make his exit. He ran outside of the convention center and made an attempt to hide in the bushes. The police showed up shortly after, demanding that Robert get out of his fursuit. He was stripped down to his tighty-whities and taken away by the police in that state.
They stripped him. They stripped him all the way to his underwear, to his tighty-whities, bro.
He was stripped down to his tighty-whities and taken away by the police in that state. This time he was charged for his con antics, being hit with trespassing and assault. It was
How much you want to bet he had no bulge either? He had those small ass, tidy whities, and you still couldn't see his dick print. Bro was a micro dick. He probably also had a shit stain.
It was after this that Robert created a GoFundMe page in order to raise some funds for legal fees that he would most definitely have to be paying out in this case. On the page, he fully admitted that he had been charged with 2 Class A misdemeanors in relation to the case. He didn't get any money from this, as shortly after the page was taken down, most likely because he admitted to committing a crime right there in the description. It seems that this would be the last furry convention that Robert was known to have attended. Unfortunately, this wouldn't be due to him being arrested for the gas attack. On contrary, despite the mountain of circumstantial evidence against him, he never did come to be charged in relation to that case at all. There are a few possible explanations as to why he wasn't arrested. For one, we have the botched chemical testing on the chlorine jar that would make the attack hard to prove in court. Another problem would have been the lack of the cameras at the Hyatt Hotel. Even if the cameras had been working, you have the problem that results from everyone's identity being hidden behind fursuits. Dogpatch.press, a furry blog that covered Robert's history extensively, had a few explanations of their own as to why the authorities could never pin him with the crime. They questioned if the chaos resulting from the attack would have made eyewitness testimony less valuable. At the time, everyone was snitching on everyone else, with the police getting a wide variety of tips as to who might have committed the attack. They also felt that it might have been too expensive to pursue the case against Robert when it was so likely that they wouldn't be able to prove without a shadow of a doubt that he was the culprit. And most of all, they feel like a crime against furries committed by who they called a weird gay furry wouldn't have been high up on the police's priority list. However, it also might be that the feds were simply hoping that they could get some more information over time to make for an airtight case. It was proven that the FBI did still keep tabs on Robert to some degree when it was found that he was stalking a member of the Dogpatch community after they detailed his story. When Robert was caught trying to find their home address, the police showed up and warned him to back off.
God, bro, he just looks so fucking cringe. I cannot take these pictures seriously. Like, Jesus Christ, it's just like something about it is so funny, but at the same time so pathetic.
In addition to Robert, the police also continued to interview other suspects until 2019 when the statute of limitations ran out on the case. Due to that, even if it is proven someday that Robert was indeed the culprit in this case, he will never be able to be charged with the crime.
Oh, so he got away, huh? Wait, it's looking like he got away fully.
But it'll be able to be charged with the crime. It isn't really known what Robert is up to these days, but it appears he's a bit down in the dumps. The last post I could find from him on any form of social media was a post to a furry website called FURRY in 2022. On his profile, where he notably lies about his age, saying that he's 31 despite being 50 at the time of the post, he wrote, "Really am going to have to get motivated to start on the new suits I have planned. I can do it, but it's been so long since the last one. Gotta pull myself out of this rut." In the end, nobody was ever arrested or charged in the furry chlorine gas attack. It will forever go down in history as one of the more notable incidents within the furry community and amongst fan conventions in general. Once again, everybody, thank you for watching my video.
W video from Dire Trip. But yeah, I guess he just like fully got away with it. One thing I do want to say before we go ahead and like just wrap up this video. For one, it is very unfortunate the stigma of furries. So like not even was it only the news anchors that couldn't take the story seriously when it came to reporting it and bringing awareness to it, which is just as important as anything else, but the police. I feel like the police also didn't take this seriously. Like, yeah, they were able to create a police report and get an investigation started, but it was never really escalated to higher levels because they felt like, and I think this is what Dire Trip said here at the end of the video, they felt like if a judge saw this, they wouldn't really see it as high priority because all they see is, oh, grown-ups wearing costumes and stuff like. So yeah, it is like really unfortunate how the stigma behind furries affects subjects like that, affects situations like this that are very serious. I mean, they're very, very serious. People got hurt. It was a full-on, to me, I consider it a terrorist attack. Yeah, damn. And people just didn't take it seriously. If you remove the furry aspect from this case, I feel like an arrest would have been made. Do y'all agree? No, I mean, that's basically it. Very unfortunate case that he got off with that. That's it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys hopefully in the next video. Peace out.